Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it. Want to change the world, there's nothing to it.
Hi guys, my name's Sue Irvin and I teach the art at the Florence Senior Center, and I'm going to do a little video on a painting that I did that we can all work on together. It'll give us something to do until we finally get back to painting together. And the name of the painting is Reflections, and we're going to do it in 4 classes, 30 or 40 minutes apiece roughly.
Yes.
Isn't that we decided?
Yes.
And I don't think I should read all this off. It's an awful lot of paints. But if you get the list from Christine, you'll have them there. And you know how I do. I use lots of paints, guys. But you can use colors that are similar. Use fall colors. These are fall trees and things like that. So I do want you to get your canvas and paint the entire thing blue before you come to start the first class, and establish a horizon line so you'll be ready to start right in. So now in just a minute I'm going to get my brush out and we're going to start by making clouds up here. You can see the clouds up in the sky. I'm going to turn my back on you, sorry, but I have to. And I'm going to take my favorite filbert brush. That's the one that's curved at the top and straight on the sides. This is just like more of a medium size, and I'm going to dip my paintbrush in water and dip it in the white paint. And this is dry because you did it ahead of time. I'm going to lay the brush kind of on its side and just do a little bit of circles here and there. we're going to make little clouds. Just kind of swirl it around, and I don't make it all the same because they'll look like little hot dog buns if you do. And just, you can make as many or as little as you want here. They can overlap each other. And they just be loose in the sky. These are kind of just little clouds that were blowing by the lake in my feeble little brain. And you just kind of put the little circles, and it's nice to have those heavy pieces here and there because it gives it a little shape. And then you just brush it lightly. And you can go back and add some more to it if you want. You can even put a little light blue with it. And you can get a bigger brush if you want. I think I will get a little bigger brush out of my menagerie here. And put some more clouds in it. Still just using white. And even though we'll put the trees on here, I'll put some down even close towards the horizon and add a little extra up here. There you go. And that's probably good enough. Probably enough clouds to make us happy. I'm going to wet my brush again and just lightly brush through the bottom of this, kind of soften the edges. But I'm not going to get rid of those thick pieces because it gives the cloud some shape and depth. Okay, now the second thing we want to do is we're going to start right on the left and do right here. Remember we made our horizon line. So we're going to start putting the trees across here, all the way across the top. So I'm going to stick with a little flat brush. Oh, let me see what size I want to get. I think I'll try this one. This again is just a medium size little flat that's flat across the top. That's why it's called flat. So I'm going to dip in the kind of the natural color, that beige color. It's called unbleached titanium. And I'm going to dip in that and this little purple color that we have. And start over here at the side and just make some little trees kind of growing up. Straight up and down. I'm holding it on its side, the brush on the skinny side I call it, and pulling it up from the horizon line. The little pinks and purpley colors. About, hard to say how far across it is. Maybe 4 inches or so, might be more. You don't have to be precise. I'm just pulling up from the horizon line. Sometimes using the fat side of the brush and sometimes using the skinny side. And just getting it up there, up and down, and don't mix it too much. You want all these colors to show through. This is just way back in the back, a little cluster of some kind of shrubbery looking tree things. I don't know what they are. But they have lights and darks in them. And this is the color I wanted to put in them. And I'm just going up and down from the horizon line. And kind of low down here. I think I'll just stick the same dirty brush into that unbleached titanium that's kind of a beige color. And get some little lighter shades in here too. But they don't have as many as I'd like. There. Now the next set of trees is kind of that orangish yellow ochre color. So I'm going to dip the same dirty brush in the yellow ochre and the dark brown color, that raw umber, and put some of that under here. This is the shading part of the underneath the tree where it's darker back in the back. And I'm going to bring it up here a little bit. I think my brush has got a lot of paint on it, so I'm going to brush some off of it because it makes it too gloomy. And then I'm going to take a lighter orange, just a fall color here, on the same brush, and get me some trees going up in here, little, just here and there, clumps. I want to get it, try to get a shape of a tree here with the fall leaves on it. And I'm just using the it's just kind of a medium yellow, I guess it is. And we'll get the shape of it going. And then I'm going to take and pull this up and make it some branches. I need to wet my brush a little bit because the paint's kind of dry. And I'm going to get some, it's not dark enough to suit me. Stick it in that raw umber. And get some of this going, little branches going in here. Wipe off the brush now. On paper or cloth or whatever, just wipe the same little brush I'm using, it's the same little flat brush, and I'm going to stick it in the yellow ochre again, which is that mustardy yellow. Kind of wipe it on the palette, and get my tree going. It won't be the same shape as the one up there, and it won't be the same shape as yours. It's just the way it is. You just make it, and that's the way it goes. However it happens, it happens. And I'm going to make it a little darker at the bottom. There. I'm basically getting these trees in, and I'll come back and add the shading, all different shades and stuff like that to it, add the highlights. I'm going to move on over to these evergreens. I'm going to take a sap green, which is just that kind of a darker green you have on your palette, and this Prussian blue. That's almost like navy blue that is on your list. It's a dark color. And I'm mixing a little bit of that with your green. Makes it a very, very dark green. And we're just going to X some darkness in here by the horizon where these trees are going to be. You can see they're tall. There's tall trees. Oh, there's one. This is one of the evergreens. He's the tallest guy. We'll put him up there. This is the next one down here, and this one will be right here. Now we're just kind of Xing it off, putting that dark in there, and going to get it up here because we'll add lighter and give it some. This is way back. This is real thick back in here, so it's going to look real dark. And we're going to get some of the paint off the brush. So wet the brush, dab it on your paper again, and then we're going to go back into this dark green and get some paint on your brush just on the edge of it and hold it onto the point of it, and you're just going to start making that evergreen tree. And it's just, they kind of go, the branches are here and there, and get a little wider as they come down. And again, this is that dark color because we're going to come back with other colors to give it some highlights and things. And we're just trying to get a shape in there so you can tell that's going to be a tree. If I were Bob Ross, he would know it was a tree. But anyway, here it goes. It's getting down bigger because it gets wider at the bottom. And I'm going to dip it in that brush in the dark green again and just use the corner for the top. Barely put it on there. And you're just trying to get a shape of your evergreen tree. This guy's a tall one. And you can come back and make more branches thicker if you want, it's your tree, so it doesn't make any difference how you make it. You can use a different color if you want. I'm getting more paint on my brush, that's what I was doing there. I'm just making this a little bit wider as I come down. And you're wanting to give the illusion of the trees. You don't have to see every little branch and every little leaf because you don't. When you go outside and look at the distance, you don't see that. So you're just making your eye think it's there for sure and know what it is. I'll make this a little bit taller.
Oh, okay. There we go.
And this is my little space where I work all the time. It's kind of a piled up place, but I know where everything is. So this is the way I work. You guys ought to know that, ones that worked with me before. Jeannie can give you, Christine can give you a tour later of my piles. There's our little trees for now. We'll leave those go and we'll move on to the next guys, which are, I'm going to clean this brush because I got that dark green on it. And I'm going to move to a lighter shade. So I'm going to get this yellow ochre, but I'm going to mix it with this unbleached titanium. So it's making a lighter shade, and I'm going to make the cone shapes. I want them to be, they kind of are, well, I'll do the branches first, because again we have 3, I think. Yeah. And then I'll just, I want to get this with the dark bottom part first. Sorry, I'm changing my mind, guys. So I'm taking the same dirty brush and putting it in the raw umber and putting dark down here. Because again, we're doing the same thing here that we did all the way across. We're making a dark baseline. And we can come back and darken that as we need to. Because it's dark, thick back there. It goes, who knows how far it goes back. I'm cleaning the brush off. I think I'll stick it in a little bit of Payne's Gray with the raw umber and make it even darker. I know it kind of looks like a jumbled mess right now, but we're just getting the basics in there. There. Now I'm going to get this off my brush and go back to the unbleached titanium and yellow ochre and try to get the shape of the trees. These trees look like they go out on the side of this brush. I'm still using this little flat brush. I'm using the skinny side. This is being the fat side. The skinny side is up and down. And I'm getting the shape of the tree, and then I'll go back and put some darker shades on the center, inside of it. But we're just getting the shape of this tree, and it's just kind of pulling straight skinny lines down by where we did our little trunk. And this is the same way here. It's just kind of up and down, kind of like you did over here. Oops, I got my paint on my lake. And I'm just gonna, it's kind of like a feather, I guess you could say. A rough looking feather. Now we're going to get back in here and use the burnt sienna, and that's that reddish brown color, brick color really, and put it with that titanium, bleached titanium and yellow ochre. Gives it a reddish brown color. And we're going to go back and kind of darken the center part of this a little bit, using the same strokes, just kind of little jabs. And we'll get all three trees. And come on down into that dark brown color. Bring that reddish brown just right on down. Yeah, we could get some darkness in there, which is what we want. And we're going to make it a little bit darker. We'll put a little raw umber with it. With that burnt sienna mixture that we have. Because I'm sure you guys have your wet palettes all made with all those colors I gave you. The whole idea is to get dark lights and darks to have it look shadowy. And that's what we're doing. Yeah. Now I'm going to keep it going up to the very edge here. Get a little darker color again. It's not quite dark enough to suit me. I've used all that up. There you go. Now, we'll leave this because we're going to make this bigger as it dries. We're going to come back over here now and put more of those evergreen. Now we're putting those kind of goldish colored trees, it looks like. They extend a little bit more further, don't they? The same tree extends a little further, so I'm going to bring it over just because I see the shape of that evergreen. If you look, it goes like this and up. This is the side behind the evergreen. This is just yellow ochre with a dirty brush. That's going to look like trees are behind it when we're finished. Then we're going to brush that, wipe the brush off and go back to that dark green mixture that you had for these here, which was the sap and the Prussian blue. And we're going to make the dark base of these trees. They go all the way to the edge of your canvas, and just kind of back and forth. It's just making the shading areas. Go into that dark brown and up to this yellow ochre. I need some more on my brush. It needs to come all the way up. Looks like there's 2 or 3 of these trees too, so they look about like that, and maybe that, and maybe there. So we're going to put that darkness all the way up to the edge there. If you need to mix a little more Prussian blue and green, and you do that. Just kind of back, forth. You're just making a base coat here. You're not making the real shapes. You'll get that. You'll see it'll come in when you start using dark, lighter shades and put the strokes in. I'm going to come up here like I did here and make these little evergreen marks at the top, because then that's how you can really tell. I'm just doing the little edge of the brush back and forth. And just back and forth, there's no particular way. It gets bigger as it comes down. And it's beginning to look like a tree there. You can see it does. I hope it does. And then this one here. There you go. Now we'll just kind of brush that in. And we've got all the trees across the back kind of put in with the base color. And get that filled up a little better. And then this is a good time to get it good and dry. If it isn't dry already, then you can use a hair dryer. And that's what we're going to have to do because this isn't dry, I think. So I've got a hair dryer right over here. And I'll go turn it on. Put my brush in the water and I'm going to be right back.
I'm going to pan with you.
Okay. You can pan away. Okay. Just going over here because I keep a hair dryer here. This is Spooky's toys on the floor. Looks like doggy daycare in my house. That's good enough for government work. That's we're coming back. Put it back on the easel, which I usually don't ever paint on an easel, so I'm going out on a limb here. Now, let's see, what brush am I going to use? And keep the flat brush going that I've been using. I've got to have had it in the water while I was drying it, so I'm going to clean it off good so that I can start with a nice clean brush.
Can you show me what the brush looks like? Can you hold
Yes,
it?
I can. This is called a flat brush. It's got straight sides and flat across the top, see? And that's what we're using. This is what I call the skinny side when I paint on just the edge part, and this is the flat or fat side. So you get a wide stroke this way and a skinny stroke that way.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now we're going to start over here again because it's all kind of dried. Some of it's not quite dry, but it's barely sticky. So we're going to use this, the pinks and purples that we had going. It's on our palette here, so we can kind of mix it as we go. We're not making big different shades like you would if you were getting tones of flesh or something. I'm using the skinny part of this and just adding a little extra, pulling it up maybe a little taller. And maybe just a little of the, use some of that unbleached titanium also. Put it in there. You don't cover everything. You want to see different, well there's my thumb, but we're going to leave it ring. You want to leave different shades in there so that you can see that it has something to it. It's just not a big blob. Okay. I mean the bottom of this is more of a little bit darker. We'll make it. I'm just going straight across the horizon line there. Let me get a little darker. I'm not going just straight across the horizon line to finish it off. I'm going to stick my brush in the water, wipe it off. I'm using the same brush, and I'm going to use some yellow ochre with the unbleached titanium, and just kind of make that makes the yellow ochre a little bit lighter. And I'm going to make some little. I'm using this little tip of the skinny part of the brush, and just kind of making some. Like it's clumps of leaves is what you would think this is. I'm going to stick it in, maybe I'll just stick it in just a straight yellow ochre this time. Using the skinny part again. And make it kind of airy. You can see through it because some of the leaves have fallen off and all that. You can tell there's branches there because we put some of those in earlier. But you don't have to make it all one big ball. I'm going to wipe that brush off but not put it in the water, and I think I'll stick it in, maybe the yellow, and put it with that yellow ochre. And then I'm going to use the edge again, And just kind of go over some of the areas where I've got it. And we'll just keep adding, stick with those colors. If you've made it more of an orangey tree, then you can use more oranges in it. It's just a fall color, so you know how leaves are in the different trees, they're different colors, or some have all colors, and so you can do it however you want. I want to keep with the yellow, use the lighter shades now on it. I've still got a little pile of that, so I'll keep using it. Bring it down a little bit into that dark. I need a little more on my brush. And we'll use this little skinny part again. And just kind of get some little loose edges there, sticking out. There. I think we'll leave that for now. We can always go back after we get all these trees in. If you see something that kind of bugs you, and you probably will, you can go back and add something. Okay. There's little... You wipe this off a little bit. There's trunks in there of those trees, I know there is. So I'm going to just do straight on down. There. Now we're moving over here, and we're going to use the sap green. Keep the sap green with the blue. This may be more green than blue, and kind of just put some. Using the wide, the flat part of the brush and just going over it like back and forth like that. This is that green color, sap green with the blue in it, but not nearly as much blue. And you're starting to see lighter color in there now. And I'm just starting at the bottom and just dabbing it. What it is like, you know how the branches come out on the evergreens? And that's what we're doing right there. You can see them. And again, this has got the dirty brush. It doesn't hardly have any of that Prussian blues, mostly the sap green. But it has got a little bit of the Prussian blue, as opposed to the real whole bunch of it like here. And we're just coming up from the bottom, and just kind of tapping here and there, and giving it some shape. Because you're putting another color of green in there, it's helping it add to the depth of the branches. You don't want to fill it all in. Down here it can be filled in where it's thicker, but up here it gets a little more thin. And while we're on that tree, I'm going to take this same brush, and I'm just going to wipe the brush off, but not stick it in water, and stick it in that kind of lime green color. And start down here again, and just give it some more shades of light, so that it makes it have more shape to it. It's beginning to look like branches, I hope, like the green evergreen branches. You're just catching the edge of the ones you've just put in. I need a little bit more of that green. That should be looking more like a tree there, is it, Christine?
Yes.
I'm not walking away, so.
It looks really good.
So I'm just hoping that, usually they say you paint with your nose and it's not good, and that's what I'm doing sitting here. You need to walk away on occasion, but she can be my eyes back there.
Looks good to me.
Well, that's all we need. And I'm coming all the way up now, lighter up here because you want it to be kind of airy. And now it's looking more like there is trees there. So we're going to leave that and wipe the brush off and come over to this glom here. And we're going to stick it with, what did I use there? The burnt sienna. Again, sticking with that same old brush. It seems to be working good, so I'm going to keep it up. And I'm just using straight burnt sienna this time and going kind of here and there to get some of different color in this little tree, these little trees. What kind they are, I don't know. It's hard to say. Something that was growing in the woods or something. By the lake. I named this one Reflections. Guess why?
Because we're going to add reflections
Yes, we
sooner
are.
or later.
Eventually, I promise. I'm going to take this brush and get it wet, wipe it off, and go into the yellow ochre and yellow. I think I'll put some yellow with it. And kind of just, again, I'm using the skinny part of the brush and just pulling up from where we had that center trunk. I'm just pulling up in that yellow color here and there. We need to make it fuller, we'll make it fuller. We can make the evergreens fuller too. We'll kind of see what needs to be done. You've got all kinds of colors on your palette, fall colors. You can just pick up here and there anything you want, really. And I'm just tapping it out like you did on the first one all the way over at the other side. And letting the other dark shades show through so that you can tell that that's a tree. And I'm going to move on over to the next tree here in a minute after I get a few more light shades on this one. I'm touching it very lightly. Keep a light touch because you don't want to overmix it because you'll have one big solid color and that defeats the whole purpose.
Now, if someone were to put too much on there, what could they do to fix it?
If it was one big glob, I guess what I would suggest you do is you could take the sponge and turn it into a different kind of a tree.
Oh, okay.
You could make it look like a shrubby look. And then it would just be a different tree because it'd be impossible to try to put blue back behind there. But that'd be an easy fix. You know, that's the nice thing about acrylics. There's always something you can do to fix the problem. Now this one, he's overlapping a little bit, this guy. So he would be lighter if he's overlapping that tree. If you made it lighter there, see how that makes that one look like it set it back? And this one's up in front of him. I'm going to get Christine in the class before you know it.
I like to paint.
You should paint with us. If we ever get back together again,
I
I'm
know.
sure we will.
You never know, I might do this one.
You might. There, see there's another tree. I'm going to stick with one of my fall colors. Any of them you want to put on this, you can just put it on it. Lighter, darker, it doesn't matter. You just want to make it look like trees. And I'm going to get back over here and get some other light shades. And come across here. Now there's getting too gloomy. See that? So I'm going to wipe my brush off, stick it in the water and wipe it off again. If you get too much paint on your brush, you can't have any control over it. It ends up just being a glob. There, I'm straightening out my glob. But again, the light touch is the trick. And don't overblend. People tend to do that. That's just the way you do. But it doesn't work. It ends up not looking right. You got to have a lot of lights and darks to get the shapes. I'm going to pull it out even further. Because I think it should be.
Looks like the sun's hitting it on that side.
Uh-huh. It does, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That could be. I'm going to make this a little darker on right here because it looks a little too blended. Now we need to maybe make him a little bit fatter this way, coming down here. He's got a trunk somewhere. There it is. Came right up. There. And I'm going to go ahead and start I'm going to take this and just more or less dab this. It's going to be different kinds of trees. This is a lighter shade. This is a dirty brush, has the unbleached titanium on it actually. And we'll let that kind of settle in there and I'll darken it up. See, I think these have some darkness in it now. And I'll take a little raw umber, that's that brown color, put it down here at the base. I'm just punching it in. Gives it a different shape of a tree. See, these are trees that are behind these evergreens. So, we'll finish this guy. How's our time, Christine?
You got about 10 more minutes.
Wow, we're doing good. I hope this isn't too fast. And the thing about it is, when we stop, you guys can keep on painting and to catch up. And so then you'll be ready for the next lesson because you'll catch up while we're gone. If this is too fast for you.
And also you'll be seeing it on Facebook, so you can always pause it.
There you go. Good idea. Yeah, that's right. You guys aren't painting live.
That's right. You can pause it and catch up with Sue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is good. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Thank you, Sue, for agreeing to do an art class.
I love to paint. I paint, as you notice in here, I paint a lot.
Everybody's going to be happy to see you.
Yeah, I'll be happy to get to see everybody else. We will eventually.
Yeah.
But I have entertained myself, needless to say, painting away. And my sister Terry, who would never pick up a brush, is now painting.
Wow.
She's gotten interested in it, and she finally picked up the brush, and now she won't put it down. She's painting all the time, calling me. So I help her over the phone.
I think painting is kind of a good therapy, yes.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's a lot more than putting that paint on the canvas, I can tell you that.
Yes.
I'm going to stick the brush now in a little bit of white. The brush is dirty, so it won't come out exactly white on there because this needs to have a little bit more separation, I think. I need just a little bit lighter. There. I think I'll leave that now. I'll just dab what's left on this little clump here and come on over and let's work on that and finish it off. So I'm going to put the brush in water and wipe it off. And remember we had that sap green and Prussian blue. And I'm going to make it mostly sap green. There was a little bit of that blue left on there. And we're going to kind of start doing the brush like we did over here, kind of flat side and just giving it a little more shape. I'm going to get some more green on my brush and start just going just back and forth, tapping it in kind of, but I'm tapping it in on the fat part of it, not the skinny, the fat edge. And the brush is getting the little different lighter greens are coming out because it's got more sap green than the Prussian. And we may have to go, you come back as you finish off and add to it as you need, make more branches or whatever you need to do. And that last day you can kind of look it over because you sign your name, you can't do anything else to it. That's our rule.
Once it's signed, that's it.
That's it. No more asking questions how to do it because we're done with it. So watch what you do when you sign it. Now I'm going to sneak on up the top with mostly the sap green and keeping it pretty light. And I got to make it kind of blend together. That's a little too abrupt of a... Not putting enough paint on my brush, I don't think. And I'm going to put a little more of that darker blue. Maybe there is another tree on this one. I Just made one.
That's what I like about painting. You can add.
Yeah, everybody's
When
will
you
look
need to.
different. Yep. Everybody's will look different. We're painting the same thing. That's what I think's neat. Okay, now I'm going to take that lighter green again. Keeping the brush just dirty. I'm not even going to clean it off. And kind of go back again, trying to hit the tips. What we need to do, everybody paint this, and then you need to send it in to put it on your Facebook page.
Yeah,
How everybody's looked.
that would be good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We're about ready to here. We're going to just kind of go back. We're going to finish off these trees, and then we'll be ready for working on the grass and the rocks on our next class. In the meantime, you can get your trees exactly how you want them. Whenever the time is up here, I'm going to keep working on the trees till it's time to call this one a class. I know one thing we need to do, and that's do the skinny side and just give a hint of a trunk in there. See?
And what color did you use for that?
Just a dirty brush. It was stuck kind of in. I stuck it kind of in that unbleached titanium, but it had brown and everything else on it. Because if it made it too dark, you'd never see it. So you can tell that's little trunks in there. And then I'm going to work on that guy. I don't like how he looks, so I'm going to clean the brush and add some more of those little clumps around him. And is there time up now?
No, we're good as long as you need to finish this part.
Oh no, I can come back to this. If we can move on. If we do 30 minutes, we can move on. She's my timer.
We're trying to do this in classes.
Yeah. Yep, we got to stick on our schedule if we want this to work. There. So we're going to come back now with this next class, right?
Yes.
So I'll see you guys next time, and we're going to work on all that green stuff that's up there, that grass and the rocks. That's our next project. So see you next time.